Bitcoin has now bounced off the $100,000 level, but is the worst behind us, or is there more pain on the way? After last week's chaos tied to Elon Musk and Trump, the markets have been anything but calm. Today, we're going to be diving into what this bounce really means, what is the longer-term outlook shaping up to be, and why Michael Burry, who's made famous by his big short in the housing market, is now rumored to be taking a massive short position against NVIDIA. My name is Paul Sampson. Welcome back to DataDash. And folks, before we dive in, if you're looking for real-time updates, detailed trade setups, educational resources, and direct access to myself anytime, then be sure to join the Traders Club at DataDashPro.com. This is where I share everything I'm watching in the market, low time frame moves, big swing setups, video breakdowns, and more. And for the full DataDash experience, be sure to grab the bundle where you'll also get Nicholas Mertens' Dash report, which dives deep into the macro trends, on-chain data, the big picture investing strategies. So whether you're looking for the short-term day trades or building long-term positions, this is the ultimate edge in this market. Once again, check out DataDashPro.com. The link is down in our description below. Hope to see you in there. All right, folks. So once again, taking a look at Bitcoin here, we had recently topped off at about $112,000 just a few days back, it feels like, but I guess it was almost 2-3 weeks ago now. And we've been basically consolidating to the downside very slowly, a slow grind, if you will. And personally, I've been looking for opportunities if we were to come back into this $88,000 and $93,000 region pretty much ever since we put in that high. And we came down to about a 6.5% difference from that region. And today I want to cover just a little bit more, once again, these Monday uploads, a little bit more macro updates, not really tracking every single individual short-term move, and whether or not we do get this drawdown to this region, or maybe if this was it. I want to highlight what I believe Bitcoin's next moves are here, as for the rest of the market as well, as we kind of continue into the summer of 2025. Now, taking a look at the most recent ETF products here that we have provided here by HODL 15 Capital, so big shout out to them. We use them pretty often. I love their information. It seemed like Nick really utilized them as well, and they really are great at putting the high time frame updates as well as pretty much keeping everybody updated over the week over week. And here, what we have here is very simple, right? This is just the number of Bitcoin held by the US Bitcoin ETFs. And it is on a quarterly scale, okay, up until about recently, because we don't have the current quarter on our hands yet because we're still developing it. So as you can see, we started off the year back in 2024, basically when we had the ETFs pretty much born, and each quarter after that. And you can see that there's been gradual, progression here as the Bitcoins that have been acquired via the ETF products have just nonstop increased over time. We started off in this region down here at about 600,000. We are currently have doubled that in about a year and a half now. And these are very helpful metrics when really looking at the big picture in Bitcoin. Obviously, the short time frame, there's always going to be these pullbacks. There's always going to be these scary times that are going to make up the overall stair step to the upside. We've had them every step of the way. Go back any time in Bitcoin's history, no matter what, we are always at risk of Bitcoin pulling back, having that little bit of fear in the day to day. But when you look back over time, what has Bitcoin done? Nothing but gone straight up and to the right. Personally, I believe that we're still on that trajectory, and that even in the short to midterm here, we are on that trajectory coming soon, meaning that I do believe that we are going to leave this range of Bitcoin to the upside, barring that pullback to maybe 88 or 90K. Regardless, I view the current market as a consolidation at this point, and that we will be taking another leg higher here, potentially this summer. We'll be taking a look at that as well. So when we're looking at some of these bigger picture things that are all lining up to kind of give us a little gauge on that, as well as the technical analysis, this is something that I find very interesting. So once again, over the last year and a half, we've done nothing but essentially doubled our holdings as far as the ETFs go. In the last couple of weeks here, it has slowed down a bit, but overall quarter over quarter, now June is the end of this quarter, right? So we're going to be coming to an end here in a few weeks and be able to look at this as a quarter over quarter basis. Right now, the end of March here is kind of our higher time frame last measure here. We've got the end of May, and we've got so far the month of June, which is only about a week old at this point. And one thing of note is that we have kind of hit the brakes here a little bit, where we had from basically January of this year to the end of March, pretty much a standstill among these products here. And then so far from a quarter over quarter basis, once again, this quarter is not closed off yet, but we started off with basically 1.125 million, and now we're at 1.2 million essentially. So we're slowing down a little bit. It seems like we're still increasing overall, and we're not seeing any major sell-offs quite yet, even when we're looking at a week over week recently as well. Fear and greed is another major indicator that we do utilize as far as to help us with the sentiment of the overall market. And while it's not a perfect indication, as nothing in trading and investing is perfect, once again, just kind of stacking some bigger high time frame indications together along with the technical analysis is just something I like to do. And overall, between the stock market and crypto, we're about the same on each, sitting a little bit more tilted into greed now, where we're pretty neutral in the last couple of weeks here. And while generally the rule of thumb is, be fearful when others are greedy, I would say that truly, I think we're in the early stages here of the greed here, where this could still get pretty extended, right? So we have plenty of room, obviously, to the other side here. Not saying it has to go that route, but we could see a few weeks where things still get pretty exciting to the upside before you get that next, extreme greed in both crypto or the stocks, where we'll see that next sizable pullback. So this by itself, really nothing to write home about. The only thing I really wanted to point out is that there is room to the upside in the sense of a greed, meaning that euphoric excitement, room for more upside, essentially, right? So it's not like we're trading right now at extreme greed while we're basically at all-time highs for both the SPY, the stock market, the indices, a few of them at least, and then also with Bitcoin basically trading at $105,000, $106,000 all-time high as well. With that being said, the market is pretty almost leaning neutral, really. So the big thing is that we have more upside potential. No update to the strategy tracker that I saw of note between our last update. So I did just find this and thought it was really interesting and funny that how Saylor's strategy, so to speak, is just pretty much this, right? Where it's just step 1, buy Bitcoin, step 2, buy more Bitcoin, step 3, repeat until you own the blockchain. So obviously Saylor and strategy is continuing to purchase their Bitcoin no matter what the price today, everything along those lines. There's nothing report wise to kind of cover there, but they're still purchasing even at these levels here. So something of note as well, just in the grand scheme of just a supply and demand base, right? Where the ETF products are still purchasing at some 75,000 Bitcoin a month. Then you have Saylor coming in and picking up a huge chunk pretty much every week and every month as well. So there's only X amount of Bitcoin that are being produced every day. So the supply and demand of that is being put to the test. And generally speaking, when the supply is lower and the demand is higher, that's what's going to lead us into these higher prices. So let's talk Bitcoin now. So like I said, we had this little pullback here. If you're looking at this almost in a traditional little bull flag, generally you'd be looking for a break higher here. And we did come down and do one thing I was looking for in the overall move, which is looking at this from a trader's perspective. As soon as we basically got this initial run up here, we've really left all the lows intact, right? Meaning that nobody's gotten stopped out in a while. There's no liquidity sweep or grab that's occurred. And when we came up to here, we did put in a pretty valid bearish harmonic known as the shark, which I've covered pretty heavily with the target zone pretty much back to this region, right? By no means is it a guarantee or even a death sentence if you get it. Once again, we've only missed that region by about 6% at this point. But what we did when we came down to this $100,000 mark is we actually did finally take out some liquidity, right? So when you're thinking of people moving up their stop losses or late longs more than anything, because many are not getting in right here. Many probably aren't even getting in right here. Majority probably starting to get more interested around these regions. And then people who are afraid of missing the move always come late, right? And one of two things, people will move their stop losses up, which is what you should do as a proper risk management tool to basically protect your capital. And then also new traders will put their stop loss just below the recent low, right? So we did come down and just barely took out these lows right here. Not necessarily the $100,000 psychological level, which was interesting, but we did come down, take out that region, and are now running it back to the upside, right? So I have a volume level marked out here at about 109,000. And truly, while that bearish shark, still has my attention and is pretty spot on perfect here, timing wise and everything of that nature. The pattern I'm talking about is this, which is what I was targeting well before it completed when we came down here and took this low, when the panic was high and the fear was high. The tariff news was at extremes, right? And at the end of the day, we ended up putting in a pretty sizable reversal here. And for me, I was timing this shark completion zone, which is a sequence of Fibonacci's with very specific ratios. I was also targeting it for the end of May. So everything really lined up. We came right into the completion zone. It was at the end of May. So it is there. And then, like I said, major target down in this region. One thing about this, though, is I'm treating this more so And I did take a short originally around 112. I closed it out a little early, unfortunately. But more than anything, I'm not even really looking at this as a big short opportunity. I would view this as basically a buy the dip scenario, where if we came down into this region, I think that would be a big opportunity for us to get the move to the next leg higher, has been my overall idea here. And the way we exit this overall range would be with this move, whether or not to this, $88,000 to $93,000 region was the overall idea for the last few weeks. And while that's still in mind, I got to say, there is something about this sweep right here that just has my attention. All right. But either way, I think this week will be telling. Potential for this to have been our low. Still have to be aware of the overall setup here that does, put a really big target zone in this region. But regardless, I think that the overall thesis still remains that we will break this region to the upside. And the next major target zone for Bitcoin is, I'd say, on the conservative area to look for 120, 125, but 135,000 is my next major region I'm targeting for Bitcoin in that area, right? Giving it a region, not necessarily an exact dollar. Now, another thing I've covered in the Traders Club for a couple months here as well is how when we came down to this area back in April, we were coming down basically to the anchored VWAP, which is a volume weighted average of price. That is anchored off of the overall low from 2022. So our bear market low of our right before we started this essential bull market. And you can see how it's really acted as our main basis here the entire time. We got a bounce here, we got a bounce here. We held it back here in 2023 before the huge move up here on the ETF launches and everything. Our drop last summer in September with the carry trade news right into the VWAP there. We run it up, we tag our 1-to-1, which is a trend-based fib extension, which means that was a 100% increase here. That took us up to the $3.63 trillion mark, which was our local top, essentially on the total market. So this is, once again, the entire market with Bitcoin, not just looking at Bitcoin's price. And then from there, we got a pullback once again last month as all the tariff news and everything was kind of coming in, right off of the anchored VWAP yet again. And looking at this in the sense of major support before the next legs up, I do believe that is where we are at the moment. And we'll be looking to get above this region for some more confirmed upside. Obviously, that's about as simple as it can get at this point. We're pretty much trading at the middle here or towards the high. So looking for some confirmation above this region here. And then from there, looking to run it to the 1618 expansion, which is the next major target for this overall market, which is up at about $5.42 trillion, which would probably be around the time Bitcoin makes it to that $135,000 area and things in that regard. Not too much has changed on our altcoin market here, the total 2. So this is everything minus Bitcoin. But I still want to just highlight this just simple cup and handle pattern, which is a very bullish structure that takes place over the long course of a time here. And then you're looking for the break above the highs, similar deal with a measured move. For me, I like to get a little bit more aggressive towards some of the key supports before just looking for all-time highs to get excited and bullish. And for this, I mean, we come down right into a gold pocket, which is from our overall lows to the high. You got to break out this little falling channel here, consolidating around this region right above our quarterly VWAP, which is this red line you might not be able to see, but we've got a nice little bounce from there. Really still nothing is materialized until we get above 1.33 trillion, currently trading at about 1.16. So I'm still watching a break for that. And then if we do get that, I think that this is a really big indication that we'll see some upside for the altcoins. In the midterm here over maybe the rest of this summer and the coming months here, rest of the year. This is a daily time frame. So this is a very large setup. This is all the way back from basically the all-time high of 2021 until now. We've also got the USDT dominance, which is something of note of recent where it's similar to the DXY, and at least in the world of crypto, where it's a little bit of an inverse correlation, where generally if this chart is going up, crypto is going to go down. And when this chart is going down, crypto is seeing upside. So huge range we've been in here for the USDT dominance for quite some time. And the thing that I wanted to point out is that we have all the volume that's taken place in this region coming in at the bottom here. And when we see this lowercase b type of setup, this generally, once again, not a guarantee, nothing's perfect, generally leads to continuation. Okay, so in this case that we are pulled back here to the downside, we're in a downtrend currently. This does point to a downtrend continuation. Okay, and we got a couple of key regions here. I'd look to really see how we react down in this area here if we get it. But overall, if we were to see a move down to some of these lower levels here, potentially like a 50% drop in USDT dominance, that would also align well with the altcoin seeing upside, with Bitcoin seeing continued upside. And also same thing here, multi-year outlook here. So this is not something maybe that's going to happen overnight, but maybe in the next coming months here, if we start to see some of this come to fruition. The SPY is $2 away from my target area that I've been looking at ever since we made this drop down here, which was about 602. It's sitting at 599. I think we've been as high as 601, so we've missed it by $1 so far. I fully anticipate that to be met. The thing with the SPY here as well is that it's showing a pretty good bit of strength, even though it feels very slow grind here. Sometimes we'll see what is known as the stairs up and an elevator down situation. So technically we still put in a little bit of a lower high at this area. We've got a couple of things down below us at around that 580 mark, which is likely and really nothing crazy. If we were to see a pullback to it, it's an average from last month, likely to be met in the month of June. So just something to be aware of, that 580 mark. But overall, still pretty strong. I think it's pretty bullish here at this point. Maybe we get that 580 drawdown, looking for that break higher and then towards the overall next target regions of 693 to 749 over time. And then Michael Burry just went pretty short on NVIDIA, at least rumored to. Haven't really confirmed it 1,000% myself. But yeah, trading up into the highs here, very possible for NVIDIA to see a decent pullback. I've been looking for one down to at least 104 to 118 for a bit of an entry here. Actually, we'll go ahead and adjust this because we've seen a little bit of a higher move here. And this is just off of a simple move to the upside. And if we were to get a casual pullback to some normal regions where we'll see a technical bounce off of, it would be about 122. I correct myself here, and then one down to maybe 106. So those are the two key areas of support if we do start to drop, where I'd be looking for that to hold for a continued move to the upside. If we get it and then you start to lose that, then yeah, maybe we got some trouble in our hands. Otherwise, though, I don't see a reason why NVIDIA wouldn't continue moving higher as well with the rest of the markets also. So probably not the first thing I jump into, as it's up so high since the last few years here, but I still think that it's got potential upside alongside the rest of the market. We'll continue to keep watching everything closely this week to see if this bounce off of 100K Bitcoin holds, or if more volatility is around the corner, especially with macro tensions and names like Burry making such bold moves. So if you want to follow everything I'm tracking in real time, check out the DataDashPro.com website. This is where you'll have access to all my setups, strategy breakdowns, market insights, along with access to the Traders Club and the full Dash Report bundle. So be sure to stay sharp out there. There's a lot more coming ahead in this market. I'll see you all in the next video. And until then, everybody, cheers.